The Cambridge English Dictionary defines a maven as someone with good knowledge and understanding of a subject. Now, a few months ago I came across this Facebook page called Breast Cancer Maven and an associated blog called Healing Cancer Mindset, and I don't think anyone is going to be surprised to learn that Rachel, proprietor of these and various other social media outlets, sadly succumbed to her breast cancer. Now, despite her healing mindset and supposed expertise, the impending demise of this maven was so obvious to me I'd planned to make this video just as soon as I came across her Facebook page. Once I saw that she had been fleeced by Tony Jimenez at Hope for Cancer, it seemed like it would only be a matter of time before I had to make this recording. Now, the best source of information about Rachel was her website, Healing Cancer Mindset, but soon after her death the website was pulled and only the first page has been archived. Several months ago I had a short conversation with a friend about Rachel and we exchanged some links and screenshots of her web pages, and there's also a profile on Chris Carr's blog, and of course her Instagram and Facebook are still live, so from these limited sources we can construct some kind of timeline. It all started in 2012, and it started in the worst way possible. According to Rachel's blog, she was vigilant enough to do a monthly breast exam, which is great, but apparently upon finding a lump she refused to get it checked for 6 months, based on information she found on Google, and that really sets the stage for what's to come. Honestly, I never established what kind of treatment Rachel had for her first breast cancer diagnosis. She definitely had surgery, but her story on the other treatments was never consistent, even on her own website. I have this screenshot of her blog saying that she was recommended hormones, chemotherapy and radiation, and she claims to have only accepted the radiation, but in a later post she contradicts this, and her profile on Chris Carr's website says she was streamlined through the cut, poison and burn process. I know that I read about her refusing tamoxifen at some point, but the posts are lost to history. Anyway, it was following this first diagnosis that Rachel became consumed by the alternative cancer industry. Let's read from this profile she sent in to Chris Carr's website. My husband and I started juicing 3 times a day, using every organic vegetable he could find. Meat, dairy and sugar were being cut out and replaced with juice cleanses, coffee enemas, green tea, flaxseed and so on. Fast forward 4 years later, I have been completely vegan for almost 1 full year, gluten-free for 6 months, and no refined sugar for longer than I can remember. So it's during this period that she sets up her blog and website and starts selling her services as a cancer coach, as so many of these people do. You can see from her Facebook that she's following and discussing all the usual suspects like Chris Walk, Shannon Knight and Ty Bollinger from The Truth About Cancer. And really, according to all the health information she's consuming, she thinks she's doing everything right with the juicing and cleansing, enemas and salads. But despite all this, in 2016 her cancer was back, and she turned to the Hope for Cancer clinic. Tony Jimenez and his team took Rachel and her family for a ride with their fake treatments like vitamin B17 infusions, hyperbaric oxygen chambers and coffee enemas. Now, it seems to be a very common theme that people going to the Hope for Cancer clinic are given initially very favourable results in terms of their tumour markers and general progress by the medical team, and this persuades them to fundraise more to stay longer or return for a second visit. But as with other stories that I've looked at, this initial promise doesn't result in a cure, and Rachel passed away after hopelessly funneling money into the pockets of Tony and his team. Is there any chance that conventional therapy could have cured Rachel? Well, it certainly seems likely that better treatment compliance might have helped in the first place and made her cancer less likely to return. I don't know whether she discussed her options with an oncologist in the US when her cancer did return in 2016, so it's hard to make any comment on this, and once again, this is why personal stories are such a terrible source of evidence. And this is the 4th breast cancer coach I've covered on my channel who died from their breast cancer. They all went vegan, they all spent thousands of dollars of their own money and their friends and family's money on fake treatments, and they were all held up as an example of natural healing. And what happens when they die? Well, their websites are pulled, their testimonies are deleted, and their videos hidden away, only for new breast cancer coaches to take their place with their exciting stories of salads and vitamin infusions. And the whole rotten cycle starts over. So what's the lesson here? Don't pay for the services of self-appointed warriors, mavens, healers or coaches. Stop relying on these blogs and Facebook groups for evidence of natural healing. Eating a healthy diet will absolutely reduce the risk of developing cancer, but it won't eliminate it, not by a long shot. And changing your diet isn't going to cure an existing cancer either. Now, if you want to know which treatments work and which will work best for you or your family member, you need to look at the scientific evidence, which is complicated, and that's why we have oncologists who spend years in school, not a few weeks on Google. So again, I find myself covering a difficult story. Rachel is a victim of the alternative cancer industry and its various scams, but she's also complicit by offering her useless advice to other women suffering from cancer and spreading scare stories about life-saving treatments. At the end of the day, Rachel decided to make her story public, and in doing so she enjoyed the benefits that entails, but anyone choosing to do that should also be aware that it makes your story and actions subject to scrutiny and criticism, as I'm doing here. So I just want to make a quick amendment to this video. Whilst putting together the visuals, I found out that Rachel changed the URL for her Breast Cancer Maven site. You can find an archived version of her 2012 cancer diagnosis and treatment story, which I'll link below. It confirms everything I said in the video, that she waited 6 months for the lump to grow because of Google, that she refused hormones, tamoxifen and chemotherapy, even though these treatments would have significantly reduced the chances of her cancer returning. You can tell from reading this post that Rachel has been confused and misled by the various blogs and videos she must have been engaging with, and she ends the post with this baffling line. I am a firm believer in placebo, and if you believe that the treatment path you choose will make you well, then it will manifest the wellness you seek. So that's the end of this video, and the reason that I collate these kind of stories is to serve as a wake-up call to people who spend their lives in the alternative cancer echo chamber. I could sit in front of the microphone and read off the results of clinical trials all day, but this would be a waste of time, because until people recognise the fallibility of collecting these heartwarming natural healing stories, they won't value scientific evidence. Now, having said that, my next video is going to be something of a chemistry lesson, and it's taking a while to put together, but it is going to feature Tony Jimenez and Ty Bollinger in conversation, so you're not going to want to miss it. And if you're watching my videos regularly and you enjoy them, it's worth checking to make sure that you're actually subscribed to the channel, and if you appreciate what I'm doing here, make sure to like the video or leave a comment. I've had some great comments recently, especially on my video about Dr. Berg, so I'll be making a part 2. And also, my Facebook page is growing steadily, so go ahead and like the page. I don't spam anything on there, and I only share things that I think my followers will be interested in once or twice a week.